from, government contracting to restaurants to help with nonprofits. We can pretty much run the gamut in our office. If we don't particularly have that skill set, SBDCs are located throughout the state, and there's about 45 consultants. And if we can't get the answer, we can go to one of them, bring them in to help. And basically, if it's not within our network of the SBDC, we can go outside, and we have a lot of contacts outside the network as well. So a little snapshot of the industry situation that we're in right now. As you all know, businesses are fragmented. Um, every industry has its own set of situations right now. If you are a barber or a beauty salon, or if you're one of those businesses that's not deemed essential and the governor asked you to close, you're in a different set of situations as other folks who may still be able to continue. But some folks have retail establishments that they're operating. Maybe the front end is closed, and you're trying to continue your operations somehow. But essentially, everything is fragmented right now. How things are operating, how we get our services. So it's making for some interesting times. Sustainability of customer loyalty. Where is that customer loyalty when all you had was walk-in clients, and now those folks are trying to get the same services online or in a different method or different way? How do you sustain that customer loyalty? Is it going to continue, or is it a new normal? Are customers going to do business a different way? Employees may be worried right now. You may not be open. We'll be talking about funding. Mr. Robinson will be discussing the funding issues and what your employees can be doing now if you had to lay employees off, or if you're still trying to fund your employees through a time of decreased revenue, which leads us into drop in revenues. And I think most everyone, unless you're a grocery store or Lowe's, has seen a drop in revenue, especially small businesses, due to the fact that people aren't moving around. We're all quarantined. We're either just going to the places we have to go and coming home, ordering stuff online maybe, but definitely disrupting the usual course of business. Uncertain about the future. We don't know where this is going to go. Is it going to come back in the fall? It's a day-to-day thing. So what's going to happen? And it's just a general unhealthy business climate. The SBDC in the upstate of South Carolina did a survey, and we appreciate them letting us use some of their survey results to give y'all a good indication of what's going on in small business. This data is mainly from the upstate of South Carolina, but I think it can apply statewide because it does focus in on small business. But based on their surveys, it says that this pie basically is the amount of revenue lost by a business, and over half the businesses, or about half the businesses, are reporting losses of 50% or more. And if you look at the light blue shaded one that looks like it takes up about a third of the small businesses, that's how many people have completely closed and have lost 100% of the revenue. So they're not making any money. So that's almost a third of businesses aren't making any money. And then if you look at the yellow pie, it's between 70 and 90% loss of revenues. So they have lost almost all of their revenue. Not completely, but almost all. So between the light blue and the yellow, that's getting close to one half of the people have no revenue or almost all the revenue lost. So you start to consider, well, how can you continue to operate? You have expenses, you have all types of things going on. So we hope to talk a little bit more about that, and the fact that you have expenses is probably your number one concern. How are you going to pay your bills? And pay them free is going to talk about that in cost containment. So Pam, are you there?
I am. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. As Jim stated, the pie chart above said that out of the 46% reporting, 46% of the respondents actually are reporting loss of revenues with 50% or greater. So with that being said, we have actually come up with some things to consider as far as business cost. So with that, able to actually manage your business costs. Right now, a lot of different credit card companies are offering, whether it's interest free for the next couple of months, or some of them are actually making payments, whatever that may be. The best thing to do is actually reach out to those credit cards. You can also reach out if you have landlords or any rent obligations as far as small businesses. What you want to do is reach out to everyone. Now is the time to sit down. Of course, we have a lot of time. So now's the time to sit down and actually call everyone. In the beginning, they were actually doing about, giving about 2 months worth of extensions. And of course, it lasted a little bit longer than that. So now people are actually maybe even extending those opportunities through May and June. So with that being said, a lot of fees are being waived. It just all depends on the credit card companies or the actual landlord or whatever. But the thing is, the most important key is to actually reach out to those individuals so that you can get those extensions for those payments. Another thing is also reducing utility. And of course, if everyone now is like working from home, so if you're able to pretty much put your employees at home, that will also help reduce utilities. And then you could also actually contact the utility company. Utility companies right now, they're not charging any late fees and things like that. So now's the opportunity to go ahead, try to reduce costs like that. And then also they may be able to give deferments and extensions. The other thing would be reduced frequency of trash pickup. For those of you who actually have a brick and mortar, if you're actually in the city of Orangeburg, that may not necessarily be possible to actually charge that with DPU. However, if there are other means, like if you're paying outside of the county and you have trash pickup, those type of things, you can actually, just reduce the frequency, or either you can actually take the trash off yourself, or maybe ask them to, actually defer the payment for later on because you're not utilizing the service right now. So basically just cancel that trash pickup for the next couple of months. Also, for those of you who have like farm services, things like that, of course, if you're not going into the office or to the place of work, then you won't necessarily need that particular uniform service. However, a suggestion would also be, since everyone's home now, maybe, wash those clothes yourself, or actually you can wash them for the actual employees. So what we're doing is just trying to create different ways for you to actually, because your revenue has been reduced significantly, is to actually try to reduce some of those costs. Maybe music subscriptions. A lot of different internet companies are offering 2 months free. They're also offering deferred payment and extensions, and they're very competitive right now. So if you feel like you definitely need those things, what you would want to do is actually reach out to your subscribers now and see, if they're willing to reduce, the cost. You can just try to compete with another company that offers the same service. Next screen. The next thing would also
One
be,
quick question.
yes.
Someone is asking, are landlords waiving fees or postponing to a later date?
They actually are. Of course, it is a case-by-case basis. However, there are some landlords, and Jim probably can attest to that because he actually is a landlord himself. So with that being said, a lot of individuals are either deferring the payment, meaning that you still owe the money, but they will give you like a 2-month, extension on that. And some of them are calculating interest and fees, and some of them are actually not. But yes, to answer that question, like I said, the best thing to do is actually reach out to your particular landlord. And then also, I think under the CARES Act, there was also something stating that for 2 months, And that probably covered April and May, that your landlords could not actually, evict anyone. So, with that being said, hopefully there were no evictions or anything. And if so, then, you may want to pull up that CARES Act document and actually show them that, because then they would probably be out of compliance as far as what the actual federal government set aside during that time. Okay, so moving on, another thing also would be managed cell phone bills. Once again, compete for different carriers, or you can actually call, with Verizon. Verizon, what they did was, and I mean, it's a personal choice, but they actually automatically, not automatically, but you had to call and they would defer your payment for 2 months. So it's pretty much, it's not like you cannot pay them, but they would not cut your service off. And what you could do is actually pay, everything would be due come June. So those 2 months that you missed, you have to catch up everything in June. So that would be an option, because I think there were a lot of different businesses like the PPP. Talk about that as so that would give you that opportunity for that money to come in, and then you could catch those bills up on the back end. Another one would be managed inventory sitting in your business. So therefore is the time right now, if there is any inventory setting idle, maybe try to, reduce the price, sell those things online, and try to figure out what you can actually do with that inventory that's just actually sitting there. And then that would help generate some income. A lot of times, if you're making money, you may not necessarily manage your inventory at the time. However, now that we have the time to do that, we can look at some of the things we have there, and you can be creative as far as selling those items and getting those items, clearing them out, bringing in some additional revenue. Another thing would be to actually look at all your office supplies. Do you really need those cups? If it's something that you actually do not need, then a suggestion would be do not purchase that item. Or, if there's another business, you can maybe sell those particular items to another business, and that would actually help. And that would actually help bring some revenue into your business. And two, it would keep that other business from having to, because manage of networking and knowing individuals as well. Look at supplier and research better ones, and that's pretty much, but on this end is more of a supplier. So that's pretty much the same thing as looking for a different phone carrier or whatever company supplies your products to you. Then what you want to do is now, a lot of individuals may be reducing their price. So what you want to do is actually go out there and find a better price to actually purchase the same items that you were purchasing before. Also help reduce some of your cost, and renegotiate lawn. So once again, if you're a business and you pay for a lawn service, then right now would be the time, because everyone is seeking business as well. So with that being said, everyone is eager and they're willing to compete. And with that, if they're offering you a contract of 6 months or 1 year, then you could probably save on that back end, maybe $1,000, on that particular contract. And that's just, for example. Next slide would be some additional savings, would actually be to pay your bills on time. Prior to the COVID-19, a lot of individuals may not have paid their bills on time. And without paying your bills on time, what happens is they charge you additional fees. Late fees, sometimes, a certain percentage of that may go on, like 10 days, 5 days, 20 days, 30 days. So now you take the opportunity to actually pay time, and you can save money there. You can catch them up with the different monies that you've applied for, the monies that you've received, through the CARES Act, and now would be time to actually catch those up. Also look for lower interest rate on credit debt. Right now, interest rates are at its all-time low. So you can also look into, like with credit cards, maybe transferring from one credit card to the next. And then that way maybe have a 0% on that particular credit card, because you may have had 20% on the previous credit card. And then also maybe look into refinancing. Banks are also, and Gary will probably, but also, debt. And it could actually change what you owe on the back end of the loan. And the next one would be, what do I reuse in my business versus throwing it away? Once again, that's almost like inventory, so, I'm either throw it away or sell it or give it away. You to the Goodwill. Goodwills are open right now. I think they did close for a period of time, but they are back open, and you can actually get a tax deduction for that if you actually donate those items or those things. And then it's something that you can actually reuse in your business. You would want to do that. One thing, sometimes you can take the old ink cartridges and go get credit for them if you were to go to Office Depot or Home Depot or whatever. I'm sorry, not Home Depot, Office Depot or Office Max, excuse me. But I think they may have changed their name. But maybe taking those cartridges, that may have been something you did not do in the past, but maybe those things now you want to be able to do that. Or any other inventory as well. Next slide. Cost containment. You can also focus attention on assessing your staff members and the current needs of your business. So now's the time, if you have 10 employees and, maybe at this particular time, because of the you're only utilizing 5 of those particular employees, what you may want to do is those other, and then you could actually save money by actually laying off the other 5 employees, or either putting them on furlough, or either just letting them go to unemployment. And then that way you're not actually paying them for unemployment. So that helps to save money as far, but you're letting the unemployment pay them. Was there a question? Okay. Next slide. Survey data on cost containment. And basically what this slide talks about is 54% of the survey participants, they felt that cost containment to be the most effective short-term adaptation measure. So what that means is these are everything that I pretty much mentioned. Out of the ones that were surveyed, 54% of them actually came up with these things. They said that they felt that was more effective as far as implementing into their business. One of the first things will be cutting back on the employees. Of course, that's probably one of our highest overheads in business is payroll. So of course, if you use that helps. The furloughs, layoffs, reducing the hours of operation. So now are opening from 12 to like maybe 8 p.m. So that helps, because that helps with reducing utilities. That helps with, that helps a lot of things. It helps with employees. It helps with inventory, not having to order as much and store as much because you may not be selling as much. So that helps to actually reduce, a lot of different overhead when you reduce the hours of operation. And then also, maybe being creative in the other hours of operation, you can actually go out and, create something online. And then also starting using in-house delivery services versus external. So once again, delivery services now can capitalize on what's actually going on. And I'm pretty sure those services have probably increased. So that's one of the businesses locally that probably has actually increased, because now everyone's in their home and they're getting a lot of services actually delivered right now. Turn of utilities, we already talked about that. Actually putting advertisements on hold. There probably could definitely be mixed controversy about this. Traditional advertisement is very expensive, but also right now with stay-at-home businesses, you want to think about advertising that could actually, possibly be free or like no charge, like internet, sometimes public service announcements, radio stations, things like that. So you want to think about those larger paid advertisements, putting those things on hold, but also try to incorporate different advertisement with your free social media. And again, the payment deferral request, they thought that was one of the, and actually that's probably one of the main things, because a lot of times was right in the beginning. If that money was not steady flowing, you got probably to the 3rd or 4th week, and therefore, you were out of money because you were still having to pay employees or, what have you. So with that money being reduced, you probably got around that 3rd or 4th week, and then you realize, okay, I need to pick up, I need to call. So if you have not called those individuals and fees did accrue or things did apply, then you want to actually go back and talk with them so that they can take those fees and everything away, because everything wasn't automatic because it was so sudden and everyone was just trying to feel their way. So you definitely want to go back and talk with those creditors to make sure that the fees are waived and that they would offer you some type of and then that would be the same for the lease, and also rent extra space to cut overhead. So basically what that means is if you were needing additional space or a space that was less, then you can actually do that to cut the overhead. And so are there any other questions?
I think we're
okay, because I was going to say, I know I went
to
through
the
that. Okay, I was going to say, I know I went through that probably pretty hurriedly, but the main thing is just focus on, what you can do differently now at this particular time as far as small business owners. It is a crisis. We are, actually looking at, because we're not having the same amount of money that's actually coming in. So you want to think about ways and things to actually reduce your overhead and be able to move on. Gary's going to go into showing you the money, talking about the different loans that were out there. He's going to cover the EIDL, the PPP, and what's actually available right now. So Gary, I will actually turn that over to you. So for those of you who have not applied, now would be the opportunity to get the information to do that, so that you can help generate some more revenue into the business. You there, Gary?
All right, I'm here now. Gotcha.
Okay.
So y'all can see my screen. Show me the money, right? Okay. So here's the deal with this. I'm going to be covering different ways in which you can financially do some things to help you in this time right now. And so you can either go out and you can get loans, or you can use any savings that you currently have. And I'm pretty sure if you're already in business, you have already started doing one of these two things. In this particular time, if we were talking about any other time, most of the time I tell people who come into our office, if you're looking for a grant for a for-profit business, they are very, very rare. That is not something that is open to the general public in terms of businesses. But in this particular time, there have been a few grants that have come about for small businesses, and I will be discussing one. And the one that I'll be discussing is the one that I think a lot of people have applied for already, or if you haven't applied for it and you're in the right market, you might be able to apply for one particular grant. It should be mentioned that as a part of the governor's plan for reopening the state, they are looking at trying to funnel money down to the municipalities and to the county governments, so that they may also provide small business grants. I know the city of Columbia has done some things. I believe West Columbia and Lexington and a number of other municipalities have done and offered some grant assistance to small businesses. So those things are out there. You just have to keep your ear to the ground, and you can contact one of us, 1890, if you want to find out as those things develop. So we will be talking about them more. Okay, so in terms of what is out there currently, so the one that most people know about is the EIDL program. This was the first thing that was done straight out of the box from the federal government, and it is the emergency assistance program that is directly funded by the SBA. If you have gotten a letter but you have not received the money, if you gotten an email from them saying that they're processing your EIDL loan, then that means that it's probably on its way at some point in time. There was some confusion in the beginning. It's not going to be $10,000. What they do is they look at the number of employees you have, and they give you $1,000 per employee up to $10,000. Now, as I mentioned, this is not something that is currently available, but some of you guys may still be in the pipeline for this particular loan. So I wanted to make mention of it. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute, because if you are a farmer or in the food business, the idle is currently open to you. So for some of you on the line, it may be open to you, and I'll show you how to get to it if you haven't already applied. Then there's the Paycheck Protection Program. This one is still available. It was funded a second time. The federal government has moved the money to try to assist smaller banks with smaller loans to make this a little bit easier for the smaller businesses. So this is still available. You do have to kind of look around to find it. So we'll discuss that in a second. Then there are bridge loans. I'll discuss that briefly, and I'll also cover some unconventional ways of getting some loans. So let me start by sharing a different screen so you guys can see. Give me 1 second. Okay, so you should be able to see the all right, you should be able to see the disaster assistance. If you are going here for the first time, you go to SBA.gov/disaster, and it would take you to this page, and then you go to apply for assistance. Now, when you get to this page, again, if you are a farmer in the agricultural world, this is available to you. So again, it's agricultural businesses that are eligible for this particular grant at this time. So the first $10,000 of this is a grant. It does not have to be repaid. If the SBA offers that you can, that they will assist you in other ways, any other money outside of the first $10,000, any other money that they may extend to you would be in the form of a loan. So you just need to know that anything past the first $10,000, anything else that they offer you in terms of assistance will be in the form of a loan with a small interest, with an interest payment of about between 2 to 3%. So if you are doing this, you can click here. And when you go there, this is the application process. So I'm not going to go all in this. If you need help with filling this particular part out, be sure to call one of us and we will help walk you through this process. So this is the EIDLE program. Now, the next program is what is called the PPP, and I'm pretty sure everyone has heard about this through the news media if you haven't already done this. But this is from the Department of Treasury. They're the ones, the main ones that are providing this. So both the SBA and the Treasury Department are managing this particular program. But this is not where you come to receive a PPP loan. This just gives you an overview, and you can find out more about the Paycheck Protection Program, but this is not where you would go to actually get it. You can go to your local banks. Now, some of you bank with BB&T, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. A lot of the big banks have already stopped offering this program, but there are some outside banks that you can go to. If you have a PayPal account, PayPal is now offering the PPP loan. If you use Lending Club, you can go to them, and actually you can go to PayPal and Lending Club and not have an account with them. So you can apply for the PPP loan through those particular organizations. If you have a Square account, now Square is offering the PPP loan, but they only offer it to certain people. So if you log into your Square account and look at the top, you'll see where they have a COVID entrance or COVID information. If you go in there and you see that it's being offered, then that means that they are making that program available to you. So there are a number of places where you can go and apply for the PPP loan. So just real briefly, how this particular loan works is that when you go to them, basically they're going to provide you with 2.5 times your regular monthly payroll. Okay, so this is really only meant to cover you for a short period of time and basically give you enough money for your payroll. So this is an option, and as long as you use 75% of the loan funds that you get for payroll, this amount of money will be forgivable. Now, there is a process that you will have to go through to make it forgivable. So it's not an automatic thing. You have to apply to the bank and basically send them the paperwork, and then they will make this particular loan, it will be forgiven. Now, if for some reason you're not forgiven, and you just decide that you want to use the money for something else, there's only a 1% interest fee if it is not forgiven, but it does mean that you will have to pay it back under those circumstances. So there is money still available in the PPP program, and we really would prefer, and the government prefers, if you utilize this because they want to keep people employed. So I'm going to cover one other loan program, and then I'm gonna come back to something that Ms. Free had mentioned about unemployment. Okay, so there is the pilot, there is the express bridge loan, which you can see right here. So if you go to SBA and you look under the 7A loan programs, you'll see the express bridge loan. Now, this is not something that a lot of people are utilizing, but this is because a lot of this is done also through the banks, and most of them are dealing with people who already have 7A loans with the bank. But if you want to try and go after an express loan, they will give you up to $25,000 for this. The bank gives the money, but the SBA guarantees it up to 50%. And the maturity rate on it is 7 years. So this is a good option, and really this is meant to be a short-term loan. And the idea behind this is this will give you enough money to keep your doors open until you find a larger loan situation that will provide you with the kind of money to keep you afloat during these times. So this is kind of a quick bit of money to help keep your bills paid and keep you with your employees to get you to another situation. So not a lot of people are talking about this, but this is an option. Okay, now let's say all of that fails. You went after the idle money, it's not enough, or you don't get it at all. You go after the PPP loan, but you're unable to get it. So here's the next step. The next step is to put yourself and any employees you have on unemployment. So to do that, you go to dew.sc.gov. Now, standardly, if you were a sole proprietor, if you were a contract worker or what they call a gig worker, you would not qualify for unemployment. And you still don't necessarily qualify for unemployment. But through the pandemic unemployment assistance program, during this particular time, you can apply for assistance. Now, to do that, you would go to My Benefits login. And here's where you would go to then register to open up your account. And this is where you would start that particular process. Okay, so you would go in and apply for unemployment. Now, if you have employees, although when you lay off an employee, you still have some work that you have to do on your end in order for them to be able to receive their unemployment, or at least you will make it a lot faster for them to get unemployment. So this is the standard place for employers to go in, the Suits portal, but that is not where you would go to file an unemployment claim for your workers. So where you want to go, and I hate to say this, kind of deep within here for you to find it, but you go to employers, filing claims for workers. And when you get here, you scroll down and you click here to get started with doing the layoff. So you're going to have to open up an account to a different portal. And this is where you would go to lay off your employees. Okay. So the good thing about doing this is, and even for you, if you are an independent contractor or a self-employed person, when you go through here, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to tell you that you are not eligible. But if you read the letter, at the end of the letter, it says, but you may be eligible for the pandemic unemployment assistance. Okay. Be sure to call DEW, and you can use this telephone box right here to get the number. But you want to call DEW and you want to walk through the process with them, because you are going to get a denial letter at first, because they're going to tell you that you're not eligible. But the reason being is because under the normal circumstances, you would not be. So you have to go to the next step, which is the pandemic unemployment assistance. And you may need some assistance with walking through getting all of the paperwork done. So be sure to call one of us, call DEW. We can at least refer you and get you to the right person who can help you through this process. But this is a good place for you to go if your business is down, or even if you have reduced revenue. This system will pay you, it may pay you to some degree, some amount of money to cover you while your revenues are way down. So this is an option. Okay. Now, I'm gonna cover a couple other things that are not so traditional in terms of what you can do to help yourself out in this situation. So there are some things, some tax credits and some tax capabilities that you have. We have not seen a lot of this where people are using this, but these are open to you and something for you to look at. So the IRS has this part of their website. You can go to the coronavirus tax relief portion, and when you look for corona tax relief, you want to click on the business related stuff, and it'll give you this. Okay, so here are some of the things that they're offering. The easy one that everybody already knows about is, of course, the tax filing has been extended to July 15th. I think pretty much every tax filer probably already knows this, but that is something to help reduce your tax burden, or at least delay your tax burden. So that's one thing. But what is a little more exciting is this one, which is the employee retention credit. Okay. And so with the employee retention credit, basically what this is meant to do is basically the money that you would have to pay in tax, in the federal taxes that you would normally pay, you can actually hold on to some of that money and not pay it to the federal government for a period of time. So they're basically allowing you to hold on to the tax money. And so you can come here to find out more about this particular program. And if you qualify, they will also give you potentially an advance. So there's Form 7200 where you can go to get an advance on employer credits due to COVID. And the IRS may actually send you a check to cover you in advance of the employee taxes that you would normally pay. So this is, again, a program that has not been talked about a lot. You don't hear about it in the media too often, but this right here is a great way of either saving some money or bringing in some money in advance to help you with your cash flow issues currently. Now, one last thing from the IRS. They also have this sick leave program, and you may have again heard of this in the media, but the federal government, as a part of the COVID response, made it so that employers had to provide paid sick leave to workers if they came down with coronavirus, or if they were taking care of a sick one, or if they could not get to work because they have children that need to be taken care of. So those things were required, but there's a big caveat to this. If you have 50 or fewer employees, which I'm pretty sure, if not everybody on here probably fits that realm. If you have 50 or less, you do not have to provide this coverage. Now, it's optional. You don't have to, okay? But here's the good thing. You can still offer it if you want to. And the good thing about it is employers receive 100% reimbursement for paid leave pursuant to the act. Okay, so they are covering it as a part of the CARES Act. So you just need to know what to do and how to go about doing it. So this is something to look into if you have employees that have been impacted by the virus. So this is an excellent way to take care of your people, take care of yourself. And also another part of this, and this should be said here, that self-employed individuals receive equivalent credit. So even if you're self-employed, this is a potential thing for you. If you come down with the virus or someone in your family come down with the virus, or you can't work because you have children at home and you cannot work your business. So this is some excellent information to look for. So also look at the IRS as a potential place for you to receive assistance for where we are. Okay, so let me back out of this for 1 second, and let me make sure I got this all covered. And let me go back to my main screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. So we've talked about the loans, we've talked about the taxes. Just to let you know, there are a couple of locations where you can get loans from that are local. South Carolina Community Loan Fund is a what they call a FDI. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but basically they get funds from the bigger banks to provide to people who may not qualify under traditional bank loan terms. So South Carolina Community Loan Fund is a great place to go to get loans. If let's say your credit is not the best, then South Carolina Community Loan Fund is another great place to go. In addition to that, the Charleston LDC, they operate in a similar fashion and they offer microloans. And basically, a microloan is anything under $100,000. And again, if you get denied from one of the larger banks to get assistance right now, you can always go to the LDC and they will work with you when everything is not as perfect as what a larger bank may want from you. And then lastly, the Beaufort Black Chamber of Commerce. They are not just for people in Beaufort. They offer their microloan program to anyone in the state. So these are three very good sources to get small amounts of money that can keep you afloat during these hard times. So please consider one of them. And again, you can call us if you need help with your loan packages for any of these things, or you need us to just kind of walk you and take you by the hand and walk you through this process. All right. Now, as Jim mentioned earlier, there was a survey done in the upstate, and just to kind of give you an idea of what has happened during this particular time, there were a number of people who applied for the various grants, but as you can see, the PPP is the thing that most of the business went after. But a lot of businesses also use their savings here to get their businesses, keep them afloat during this particular time. And savings is a great way to go. If you have saved money for a rainy day, this would be the time. It is pouring outside. Now is the time to use that rainy day money. Now, of course, you don't want to run out of that money. So if you can get money from any of these other programs, finding money to kind of bring a stability to your cash flow should be the main thing that you need to do. Savings, in my estimation, is really kind of the worst case scenario to go to. Doing all of the cost savings that Pam talked about, doing any of these loan programs, using the tax credits. This gives you a full array of different things that you can do to help with your cash flow problems. So that's pretty much my part of the presentation, and I'm going to hand it back over to Jim.
Okay, thanks, Gary. And so, yeah, we've talked about cost containment and a lot of these federal programs and other ways that you can fund your business at this time. So we're now actually going to shift over to, let's see, share the screen again. Communication. Very important during this time. Communicating with not only your vendors, which has been talked about by Pam and with cost containments, but also your customers, as well as your employees. But, during the time that you're closed, you worry about retention of customers in business. You really need to consciously be reaching out the best way you can to your customers, whether that's through email, phone, letter, text, or whatever, just to let them know you're still here, you're still planning on opening back up sometime, or maybe you have, some new ways you do business and you want to communicate that to them. You want to make sure that while you're communicating, build support by humanizing your company. Hey, I'm a small business owner. You know, we're struggling with this. I'm taking care of a family. I'm local. Um, a lot of your customers probably already know you and you're well humanized, but they can definitely empathize with your plight. As a way to, definitely keep them connected with you, educate them about what's going on in the business, what are some of the changes you're thinking about making in the way you do business, how are you going to ensure, stability and safety in your business when you open back up. I think this is really going to be a critical one. So now the governor is, allowing folks to open back up. So we're in a transition period here, and they want to slowly, methodically open business back up and let people get out of quarantine and come back out and safely, do commerce in the community. But what you need to do as a business is communicate that to your customers so they feel safe about coming to your business. So you need to talk to them about, hey, I've got, hand sanitizer as you walk through the door. We clean the business 3 times a day with disinfectant and other products. We are only allowing 50% capacity to come in our business. If we're coming out to your home, you know, we wear the proper PPEs before we enter your home if you're a service business. So, it's one thing to implement these, it's another thing to communicate them to the public and to your customers and let them know, give them peace of mind that if they're going to do business with you, that you're taking those precautions, and that could help your business, help sustain your business. Um, so yeah, it's definitely making sure your customers knows what's going on is like one of the most important things during this transition. People are still going to be hesitant to come out and work, so you need to and perform commerce, but you need to let them know that, hey, you know we are here and we can serve you safely. Uh, one of your other big stakeholders past your customers is your employees. You need to be communicating with your employees. Very important in this time. Every individual business is a little different situation. Some businesses are really big, um, and a lot of folks may even be still employed and being paid as they work from home. Smaller businesses, or depending on the industry you're in, maybe you had to let employees go, or maybe you had to cut employee hours. So communicating with those employees about, what's going on with the business. Are y'all going to continue to operate? Are you going to close down? Are you going to come back part time with limited hours? Um, you know, the whole discussion that needs to be had with employees and just keeping that communication is really important. Keeping that connection. If you can do it visually through a virtual platform like we're doing today, that's great. I think it could be appreciated, and you know, we communicate. 70% of our communication is with body language. So if you can see a face, a lot of times that's very helpful. versus just talking with people over the phone. So make sure they know what the plan is to resume work and manage expectations for the future. Hey, we're coming back. We might only have 20% of the customers when we come back, or maybe we're 20% right now, and when you come back, we might only be 50%. It might be a slow climb back. Just make sure that they understand what the reality of everything is. And a lot of these folks are on if they were laid off, they're likely on unemployment. And if you're employing minimum wage workers, for instance, up to maybe about $10 to $12 an hour workers, it's likely they have a better deal being on unemployment than working, because they're getting an additional $600 a week. So if you were getting paid minimum wage, now you're on unemployment, you're getting paid probably double what you were working, or more. So, you have to take into account how this is going to impact your business in bringing back employees, and how soon will these employees come back if they're on unemployment, and are getting paid a better wage or a better, income than they were working. And this I guess inflated or subsidized unemployment is going to last through July, if I'm not mistaken. So as a business, could say you might not get employees back until July. Some of them that are wanting to take the unemployment, they are still supposed to, like regular unemployment, or look for work every week, um, and try to be getting the job. But it's a reality that you have to deal with. Um, it's it'd be great if we could be paying all employees $15 an hour. But the reality is, it's minimum wage, and um, during this time you might have to deal with that. But come up with a plan, around it, and just think about it. And if town halls are not possible, call your employees, write them a letter, stay in touch. Don't leave them in the dark, for sure. Show your employees that you care. Send them a homemade face mask, care package, host a virtual happy hour, keep that fellowship going amongst your employees, and just know that, hey, um, you know, we enjoy you being our employee. We want you to stay with us. This is how we care. So, communication, very important, which pivots us over to rebuilding your brand. This is an aspect of communication or marketing that you really need to think about, because, as y'all probably heard, we're probably going to be in a new normal as to how business is, done after this. Um, we uh, have always had the internet, and you can order through the internet, right? But since we've been quarantined and have not been able to go out, it's kind of like forced us to use all of these electronic, um, uh, products that are available to us that maybe we were hesitant to get into before, or maybe, for one reason or another, we just didn't use. Uh, I honestly never used Zoom or an online platform very much. Uh, and we just called people that came in. Rarely did we use it. But since the pandemic, I've been using it daily, multiple times daily, both with doing trainings and webinars, and just talking with people. And so from here on out, it'll probably be a tool we continue to employ, to help consult with our clients. So that's a change. That's a change in, how we've done things, and you're going to see a change in the market. So you're going to have to, like, you know, pivot your brand to accommodate the new normal for the market, which, as you see from some of these brands up here, Shopify, DoorDash, Uber Eats, these are all services or for convenience, or at least DoorDash and Uber Eats are, and Grubhub. to get food and stuff delivered straight to your home. Shopify is an e-commerce platform that you can use where people can come to your website and shop and pay for the transaction there, and it helps you manage the whole transaction. So these are things, Facebook, Amazon, all things we need to think about, because people just went out and they really started using these much more than they have in the past. So if you bought stock in Zoom or Uber Eats or any of these other ones before the pandemic, you're probably doing real good right now because they're pretty busy. So how can you rebuild your brand? And if you don't know what a brand is the perception of your company by other people. Essentially how people perceive your company. That's your brand. If you have positive brand, people think a lot of positive about your company. If you have negative brand equity, then you might have done some things people don't like, and they may be boycotting your business, or um, maybe some just negative feelings about your business. So brand is how people feel about your business and whether they'll buy from you, essentially, or not. How do you build that? Because you want as much positive brand as you can get. You want to improve your brand, so people will come to you and buy. Customer loyalty programs is a good time to think about that pivot to online. If you are a retailer or even a service and you've just strictly been, not much online stuff, walk-ins, people buying directly from you, you need to think about going online, because there's so many features and so many opportunities to sell online now, not just with the audience and the marketplace, but also with the software that you can get to do these programs. Um, and a lot of the software that's out there, you can go. There's a whole package. Like if you went to Wix and set up your website, there's a whole e-commerce package that can come with it. And Wix is just one example. There's a bunch of different ones that you could use, and these packages come with it, and with them come things that you can use to connect with your customers, like automations and just all type of little features that you can use to help improve customer loyalty. um, Send out coupons, send out information about your business, um, just a lot of things. And customer loyalty is made by keeping people satisfied and giving them what they want in a timely manner at a decent price. So find ways to harness the power of the free media through public relations, um, which is there's a whole strategy to getting your name out there through the media. Use your employees to tell your story. Um, that humanizes your business. Rebuilding your brand, adapt and plan, rethink your offerings. Um, Now's a good time where time is down, to look at, hey, what have I been doing? Has it been profitable? Is what I'm doing selling, or is it time to like maybe add new products or new services, tweak those services, and think about how can I change it to accommodate what's going to happen in the future. um, do I offer delivery? Do I do e-commerce? Do I do you know roadside service where people pull up? um, am I doing more things where I text people out um, and communicate that way? Enhance what's working, fix what's not. Can you add potential services within the confines of your business that may create value to your customers? In the example here, they say a new family size dinners with free delivery. I've seen this in several of the restaurants locally where the restaurant had to, dine in was closed. Um, so they had to like figure out something real quick. And what they would do is, curbside pickup for takeout, for dining and delivery, but also they would offer, hey, a whole meal for your family. You don't have to think about it. Just come on in, get it, take it home, and boom, you're done. Um, so you got to kind of think outside the box right now. Look at the marketplace, see what's going on, and figure out what could work for your business to accommodate what people are wanting right now. Here's another survey as how consumers are using social media as an advertising platform. You know, we talked about a little bit, I think we mentioned traditional advertising. As most people know, a lot of this has shifted to social media and direct emailing and, you know, working through AdWords with, you know, Google and, you know, getting to people through the Google platform. So so many folks use their phone for so much, and they use social media and they use Google and several other things, but you got to go where people are to reach them. And you know, people for the most part are on there. Um, but would you buy from your favorite business if they post sales and promotions on social media? It says most people would, or if they don't say yes, they would say maybe. Just a very minute amount of people would not buy, uh, you know, from promotions on social media. So really consider social media is pretty inexpensive to advertise and reach people. And there's a lot of platforms to do it. You got to figure out what works best for you. Um, Another question they had here is, if you are to purchase over social media, which of the following attributes would be most attractive? And pretty much across the board, they said a sale or promotion, which would be discounting slightly your product or service. But that's, you know, a good way to get people in the door sometime. Positive comment threads, you know, you read the reviews. If you have a bunch of bad reviews, then maybe an issue. So you got to kind of protect your brand through the reviews. Positive reviews, on the other hand, could say, oh yeah, they got mostly good reviews. I definitely will buy from them. Free shipping always helps. And video content to a lesser degree on the product and or service being sold makes a difference. You know, whenever there's a whole strategy, which we'd be happy to help you with, um, you know, if you want a social consulting on social media strategies, you know, just putting text out there doesn't do a lot. Putting a picture usually improves return and engagement. Putting a video improves it even more because people can connect with you and connect with the product and you know, enjoy videos. You can get a lot more across in a video as well. Very short. It has to be under 30 minutes or so. So actions matter. What you do in a crisis determines who you are. People are watching. They're watching what you're doing, how you're reacting. Do you care about your customers? Are you making adjustments? Are you thinking about them? They're listening to what you're saying. So just remember that, and you're trying to create a good perception. You've always tried to have a good product and service and the best quality at the best price for your people, but there's other elements, you know. People look at more than just the good quality um, and the good service. They're looking for, how are you maybe as a steward of your community, of, you know, of your customer, you know, some of the items that, you know, just don't go necessarily directly with service. SBDC, of course, is here to help. We're glad to help. Um, you know, it's a tough time for everybody, and uh, we talk to so many different businesses every day, so we get to see a lot of different, I guess, strategies or methods for coping with this, and hopefully, you know, it's something that we can help you with. But like to thank everybody. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. If not, you know, on this call, you can also email us. These are our email addresses here. Shoot us email. We'll get back in touch with you and work with you the best as possible. So at this point, let me go up and stop sharing here. And I think we did have a couple questions here. Let's see. Says they would love to share your information with Kentuckians. Please share. Okay. Yeah, that's great. We have a multi-state audience. Wonderful. There's actually SBDCs in every state. So Kentucky, probably through the University of Kentucky, as an SBDC. And I might have saw something about Georgia before, or Alabama, I can't remember.
Alabama.
Alabama, okay. University of Alabama is the lead university for SBDCs in Alabama. And they usually subcontract with other universities in that state. So yeah, SBDCs are all over the country. You can find them anywhere. Thank you, Liz. We appreciate the opportunity of sharing with your folks.
Well, we thank you so much, Jim, Pam, and Gary, for taking the opportunity to share with our small businesses measures that they can take to help alleviate somewhat, the impact that many of our businesses are facing. So, just as an overview, number one, cost containment. Think about those things that you can immediately do to help reduce overhead for your business. Show me the money. Gary went over a few financial assistance programs that are available through the Small Business Development Administration, as well as some tax credits that might be available through IRS, as well as the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce. And then Jim came back and just kind of wrapped everything up with the importance of communicating to your business, to your customers, as well as to your employees, just to make sure that you have consistent touch points with those various audiences. And then, of course, to rebrand. And Jim provided some really good examples. Even though traditional advertising may be expensive, social media is definitely an inexpensive way to get your message out, not just to your base, but also the good thing about the internet is being able to reach a broader audience. So again, Jim, Pam, and Gary, thank you so much for sharing relevant information to our audience today. And I also want to thank each of you on behalf of 1890 Research and Extension at South Carolina State University. If you need any assistance on our behalf, we're definitely there to help you. You can find out more information about 1890 Research and Extension at scsu.edu, or feel free to send us an email at scState1890@scsu.edu. Again,
Elizabeth?
yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but actually every Friday we have a Pivot to Recovery webinar with the SBDC, and this week we're actually having a DEW representative that would be there to share information and updates and the process about unemployment. So if anyone, on the call today, if you have their information, we can send you that link and you can share that with them as well. And that would be at 11 o'clock on Friday. We'll send the link out for you for that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, I just want to know that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Have your contact information. We'll definitely add you to our list of contacts and send you information about 1890 Research and Extension events and programs. Thank you again.